before, but whether it's that driver we're looking at right there in Connor Hall for Junior Motorsports or several more that have graced us with the property, again, we're going to have to cut so many drivers out of this field before we get to our 40 that are going to start the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. But this is an opportunity that these drivers dream of all year long, whether they're a young man like Darren Krantz Jr. there trying to get prepared, a young man, or many of the veterans that we have in this field. This race means everything to every one of these drivers.
In the past 29 iterations of this race, the biggest short track stars you could imagine have been able to win here, and there's some who are in this entry list or on this entry list today that would share similar notions, but this is the one thing missing: a win at Martinsville. Philip Morris has done it 3 times, Lee Pulliam twice, Timothy Peters twice, Setzer, Sellers, Berry, Quapple, and many, many more are on the list of winners for this race. And Blake, one of the most unique facets to the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, if you want a Borg Warner trophy, you got to win the Indianapolis 500. If you want a Harley J. Earl trophy, you have to win the Daytona 500. The ultimate bridge, the ultimate link to this race this afternoon and the Cup race that'll be here about a month from now, a grandfather clock could be bridged between these short track heroes and those Cup stars, because that's on the line to win this race.
And I think that's why this race in particular, this event, this venue means so much to these drivers. So many of them, again, growing up racing late model stock cars throughout the Southeast and in the Commonwealth of Virginia in particular. The focus is on this race because so many of these drivers, they grew up in the grandstands, coming to races here over the course of their young lives and wanting to be race car drivers, and this is their opportunity to live that out, to fulfill that dream. And again, Martinsville, it's a short track. It's a well-known short track. It's the short track. But for many of these drivers, this is the Daytona 500 of short track racing. This is one of the largest racetracks that we go to because so many of these drivers, they grow up racing on 3/8 of a mile or 4/10 of a mile facilities. So just over half a mile that this Martinsville Speedway paperclip is, it feels huge to these drivers, and to be here with these grandstands and the fans that have braved the elements with us to be able to come out and watch all of this, it's quite something.
Now, this race is serving as the 3rd chapter in what is a 3-part story for the Virginia Triple Crown in 2025, a series that kicked off earlier this year at South Boston Speedway, rolled into Langley Speedway for the Hampton Heat. And as far as how things look in the Triple Crown standings coming into this race, a familiar name in terms of short track success from an overall perspective. Connor Hall is currently the contender who is in control of his own destiny in those Triple Crown points. He currently leads us in those standings, and he's coming to a track, Blake, where Junior Motorsports has had recent success. They're the defending winners of this race with Carson Quapple just 1 year ago.
Yeah, it was a big deal there for Connor Hall, and again, he was the first person ever in the history of this Triple Crown to lock in a spot into this race prior to ever showing up on the grounds just a couple of months ago. There you see his triumph in the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 at South Boston. He knew from there that he would have a starting spot in this field, and we'll get to the implications that could mean for the rest of this field trying to make this race later, but did it by virtue of his win at South Boston Speedway. Even Matt Waltz, the Hampton Heat winner, locked into this field as well. But Connor Hall coming into tonight, Eric, again, it's hard to say what this driver it's getting harder to say what he hasn't accomplished here in late model stock car racing. The national championships, all the big wins. He's a winner of the Hampton Heat. He's a winner of the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 multiple times. And for somebody that is looking to check off just the last couple of accomplishments or box on that resume, this is one of the few things that he is still aspiring to do, is to take home a grandfather clock, and hardly a better team to go try to do it for than the defending winners of this race and a team that has gone to victory lane here multiple times.
And as you saw, by virtue of him being on the racetrack, he's going to be one of the first to figure out if he's going to have to fall back on that provisional or if he could race his way into the big show, as he is in the first of 4 qualifying races here. Hall has the average finish of 1.5 by virtue of the win at South Boston, the runner-up effort at Langley. So he's the Triple Crown points leader over what is a 2-way tie between Ronnie Bassett Jr. and Virginia legend Woody Howard. But as we've seen, even last year, Blake, it came down to the very end of the race, when things got physical, we could see these average finish numbers in the point standings for that Triple Crown get jumbled up in a very big way in the latter stages of this race in that final 25-lap sprint to the finish.
Well, and speaking of being jumbled up, again, you have to be eligible to try to compete for the prize money that is available for this Triple Crown. And again, $20,000 going to the driver that not only will be adorned with the crown on a throne tonight, something that's going to be different about this Triple Crown here this year, but the prize money, the purse money that FloRacing has injected to make this the biggest Triple Crown ever, $10,000 available for the driver that finishes in second place, and so on forth down through the top 10. But you have to make this feature. You have to be a part of the top 40 to be a part of this Triple Crown. Again, you take your average finish across 3 races, and that's 3 races, not 2. So you mentioned Woody Howard. That's a great point to bring up. He's starting outside of a transfer spot in his heat later on. He qualified 11th, or he'll be starting 11th in qualifying race number 4. Darren Krantz Jr. as well, right now sitting in the top few spots in this Triple Crown, starting 11th in qualifying race number 2. So there's a couple of drivers that just making the field is going to be on their minds tonight before you actually focus in on 200 laps later.
Well, Connor Hall is someone who has 2 NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series championships. He's vying for a championship on the Cars Tour with 2 races to go, but he's trying to add his name to what is an illustrious list of Triple Crown champions, and nobody has done it better than the new 8-time track titleist at South Boston Speedway, Peyton Sellers. 5 times he has won the Virginia Triple Crown. Trevor Ward did so by virtue of his win here back in 2023. Bobby McCarty, even though he hasn't won at Martinsville before, he did win the Triple Crown back in 2021. And as Lee Pulliam is a 2-time winner of this race, he's also a 2-time Virginia Triple Crown titleist. Timothy Peters, C.E. Falk, and many, many more. And we could see a new name added to that list. And as much as the race means to these drivers, the top honors in the Virginia Triple Crown mean just as much.
The Virginia Triple Crown champion for the 5th time.
Wasn't nothing going to get between him. Peyton Sellers has won it.
So you want me to tell you what it takes to win a Virginia Triple Crown?
Ladies and gentlemen, Peyton Sellers!
Okay, here are the keys to the crown. Consistency. You've got 3 shots. All 3 shots count. 3 different tracks. It's going to come down to who's got a single point difference at the end of the day to win the Triple Crown. Adaptability. You've got 3 tracks with 3 total different designs, and one driver is going to figure it out the best. You've got South Boston, which is high grip. It's got a little bit of banking. It's a wider track. Then you go to Langley, which is no grip at all, and it's a circle, so you're trying to manage tires all night long. Then you go to Martinsville, which is all brakes and all speed going down the straightaways. You have to be able to adapt to all 3 different surfaces and make the most of each outing that you've got, because you've only got 3 shots. Speed. It's up to the driver to have the speed when it counts. It's all about being fast at the end of the race at Langley. It's all about being fast early on at Martinsville to get track position. In South Boston, you just got to have speed the whole race. Respect. You've got to race against these guys door to door for 600 laps, so you don't want to make any enemies. The line between being a hero or a villain is about that wide.
Forrest off of 4. Is it Heim? Is it Forrest? Corey Heim!
You got a lot of people out there that don't know how to use both pedals.
Power move on the bottom side.
Nick Smith gets in the 17, pushes him up the racetrack. Dives underneath, takes over the 3rd spot.
For the final half mile, it is Landon Huffman by a nose.
Now that I've given you the keys to the crown, all you got to do is beat me.
Welcome back to the Martinsville Speedway for the 2025 edition of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Closing out this year's Virginia Triple Crown with the biggest race of them all on the biggest stage of them all. For the late model stock car competitors, over 60-plus cars trying to squeeze their way into a 40-car field with only 2 drivers going to bed last night knowing that they had a provisional to fall back on it if they needed it. Well, you see the drivers who are going to make part of qualifying race number 1 starting to set the stage here for today's afternoon portion of our racing program. We are getting closer and closer, Blake, for the opportunity for this race to start. But we've got some help down trackside as well. For more, we're going to throw it down to one of our 2 pit reporters, Jacqueline Drake. Hey, Jacqueline.
Hey guys, so great to hear from you. And it's a great sunny day here at Martinsville, which is what we all want to see. The cars are currently sitting in the chute, so we're a little bit behind the scenes. And right here behind me, the 26 of Peyton Sellers, which you just saw that great feature on. But I want to highlight something new for the Triple Crown. The drivers that are in contention above their car, you will see for the very first time a windshield decal that features half the NASCAR regional logo, the FloRacing logo, and then Triple Crown and the driver name on top. So while you're watching on FloRacing or up in the grandstands, you can easily identify what drivers are in the running for the Triple Crown today. James Pike, off to you. What do you have?
This is a special day in the late model stock car calendar, and it is so important to all of these teams because of where we are and who races here. Rare are the opportunities in the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series that these drivers get the opportunity to share the same track as the drivers of the NASCAR Cup Series. But every year when we come to Martinsville for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, that is exactly the premise that these drivers find themselves facing. You see Darren Krantz Jr., he finished on the podium in the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 at South Boston. He's going to be one of the drivers here in this heat 2, that are going to be trying to race for some of the spots in the qualifying races to make sure they're one of the 40 that gets an opportunity to compete for the grandfather clock. 40 years of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, 30th anniversary of this format. It's going to be a fabulous afternoon as we go through the qualifying races and get ready to rock and roll for 200 laps later tonight.
Thanks, Mike. A lot on the line, and hats off to all of the changes that have been made for, I would say, enhancing a race, Blake, that has already been one of the marquee events. In fact, I love following many of the short track racing journalists who start to preview and prelude this event, and they're able to inject all the passion that the drivers share for what this race means. And perhaps most interestingly to me was former Triple Crown champion Bobby McCarty talking about the fact that although he has wanted to have the chance to win this race, he's shifting his focus a little bit to being more appreciative of the opportunity to race on this stage and maybe living more in the moment than being too hyper-focused on the ultimate prize and seeing if that could help lead him to victory.
Well, again, I think that's the approach that so many drivers are going to take, that, you know, it's all about chasing the clock, and if you do that, the points will take care of themselves. And you can see some work that is going on right now. This is at the exit of turn number 2. Now, Eric, you made a great point earlier that if you had looked at all what the meteorologists were saying in the weather forecast the last several days coming into this event, I don't think a lot of people would say it was likely that we were going to arrive at the racetrack and by noon or so there wasn't going to be any rain falling in the area. But with some of the rains that did come through last night, there was some work that was being done prior to us going live on the broadcast for a weeper that was out in turn number 3. There was several members here, the track team and the track drying crew that were over there servicing that area of the racetrack. They were able to complete the work over there. There's just a couple of areas, as you see the AMR safety team being a part of this cleanup as well, just for a couple of spots through turns 1 and 2, particularly in turn 2, where there's just a couple of weepers that have needed just a little bit of attention. Again, not something that should take a significant amount of time. If anything, we were told earlier this week that throughout the running of this race that pretty much there is a cup-level operation here in terms of the track drying and the air tundras that we'll have on the property throughout the course of the weekend. So should anything happen to this racetrack, they are well prepared, as they would be on any National Series weekend, to hopefully remedy that situation as quickly as possible. So we're hoping that this slight delay prior to the beginning of qualifying race 1 won't take too long to take care of. And again, it's really just this one spot that we're looking at now that they're trying to take care of. But also, we're seeing some cars roll off here on the front straightaway.
Yeah, the planning and preparedness for everybody involved and all the coordination and collaboration for all parties to assure that every competitor who signs up to run this race is going to be given all the efforts needed and exhausted if need be to assure that the race is able to get in. And as Blake said, despite what was an abysmal forecast in the midweek, we've got blue skies over Martinsville, Virginia, and just a little bit more work to be done as the cars begin to roll off. And it gave the field a little bit more time to think about how this race is going to unfold. This is going to be our first of 4 qualifying races. Now, qualifying was held last night. The driver who laid down the quick time, Cody Kelly, by virtue of that fast time, is going to start on the pole. These qualifying races are 25 laps in length. Top 10 are going to advance on into the feature. No last chance race. If you're 11th or worse, you're loading up and going home. Only green flag laps will count, and should we need overtime, there will be a single attempt in the qualifying races only to end the race on our green-white checker if needed. So 25 laps to make the show. Consolation perhaps for Cody Kelly by virtue of being fastest last night. $5,000 in the pocket, but he's still not locked in the show.
And I know Cody Kelly right there in that number 16 car, a weekly competitor at Florence Motor Speedway, carried a lot of speed. And in fact, it was twin brother Casey Kelly that was competing in this event 1 year ago. And if you can remember, Eric, late in that race, drove up with some of the chaos we had. We did have a green-white checkered at the end of that race, drove up from 22nd to 4th, and at least from what I could see in watching our coverage of qualifying last night, was the first to get out or to greet his brother as he got out of the car. And Cody Kelly carrying the pride of Hartsville, South Carolina right now with the fastest lap, and so many great stories that we have of drivers who compete at many of the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series tracks across the Southeast that are representing very well here this afternoon.
So this field being made up of 17 cars total. As we said, with Kelly being the quickest in qualifying, he's going to inherit the pole, and if he can win this race, could parlay that into a pole shot. As we take a look at our starting lineup, Kelly and Cars Tour rookie Carson Lofton with a great qualifying run in the Nelson Motorsports 22, making up row 1. Then it's Sam Yarborough and the aforementioned Connor Hall. He's locked into the show, but he doesn't want to use that provisional and start hang out back. He'll roll off 4th in his qualifying race.
Row 3, you see Connor Jones looking to make yet another start here in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, and Stuart Cruz, a great run that he had in his qualifying races a year ago before some issues in the feature race. Andrew Grady and Ronnie Bassett Jr. make up the last two, or excuse me, that's row 4, so 7th and 8th right there. It'll be Stacy Puryear just behind, and Doug Barnes Jr. who make up the final locked-in spot. So row 6 on back, going to have to try to make your way forward.
Dylan Newsom, Camden Gully going to come from row 6. Rest of the field is going to see Trey Williams, Jason Myers, Chase Johnson, Brian Reedy, and Connor Branch, all hoping to race their way into the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Top 10 or bust to try to make the show. It's going to be the quick time setter in qualifying, Cody Kelly and Carson Lofton, kicking off the qualifying races for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 at Martinsville.
Oh, and one car did not get going. It was Stacy Puryear in the number 17. Looks like that car is up to full song in 1 and 2, but lost a handful of positions for a driver that, as we mentioned, was just on the inside. Now may be on the outside of that cut line as we come around to complete lap 1. And how about Carson Lofton ripping the top, trying to go to the lead?
The driver who was tagged to drive this car that has won multiple championships in late model stock car platforms in his rookie campaign on the Cars Tour, looking to maybe put himself on the pole for the biggest late model stock car race of the year as Lofton goes to the lead.
And already early on, you can see what drivers are willing to do to protect themselves. And again, up here in the top 5, yes, you're going to see some aggression. Carson Lofton rolling the top side. But again, you'll see a lot of respect up here. This is where things are going to get hot and heavy, right around that cut line with Doug Barnes Jr. in the number 88. Oh, Camden Gully, a huge move to the inside of Ronnie Bassett Jr. to try and make his way up into ninth. So Puryear on the outside looking in. Tough start, but he's back, trying to get back inside the top 10.
A bit of a subplot here. That 62 car, not the familiar numerals that we normally see this driver in. That's Ronnie Bassett Jr. in danger of getting kicked out of a transfer spot, and he's second in Virginia Triple Crown points coming into this race. He loses that spot to Puryear.
And Puryear leading all active drivers drivers right now in terms of starts in this race. He has made the starting field for the ValleyStar Credit Union 317 times. Just turned 55 years young just a couple of weeks ago. Did Stacy Puryear, looking to get back into the field yet again for somebody who would have the 4th most starts in this event should he be able to make the feature tonight.
So after Bassett has gotten kicked to 11th, he's trying to find a bit of a rhythm while the top 10 have pretty much strung themselves out single file. That's Doug Barnes Jr., who pretty much leads this charge in 8th spot. Then Camden Gully and company, while up front, not that much separation amongst the front 5. Pretty much a car length and a half between these drivers since Lofton took the lead on the outside.
And again, aside from the Hampton Heat and the South Carolina 400, there's not many marquee starts aside from the Triple Crown this year that Carson Lofton had in his kind of maiden season in a late model stock car racing. But you see Bassett right there, a big slide of that number 62 off of turn 4. And it was mentioned last night, but again, it's just different seeing Bassett in number 62. We're so used to that iconic white or black 04 that he's been a part of. But right now, Bassett, big moment off of turn 4, trying to slide around, and these laps go by quickly, Eric, already with, just 17 laps to go. Time is running out, and Camden Gully, who made an aggressive move to get by Bassett there early, seemed to pay dividends for the Orange County Speedway champion, and Camden Gully right now running in 9th.
And the bad news for Bassett is that car looks really loose on corner exit, and he's going to need to have a little bit of a better way to get the power down. Looks much smoother that time off of turn 4 to make up the most of these very long straightaways, long in comparison to where these drivers traditionally race these style cars. And for Bassett, he is closing up on Puryear. And remember, 2nd in Virginia Triple Crown points is that 62 car. He wants a shot at that title. The only way to get it is to make the race.
As you see these cars go through the corner, you can already see a ton of rubber being laid down in this early juncture. Again, we had all this rain come in and wash through, and just look at this concrete already. You can see very clearly the amount of rubber that just in this section right here. Oh, Bassett, he got tight. He had to check up out of it. A huge moment there for Ronnie Bassett Jr., and that's so tough because, again, making up that ground, going to take another several laps, and you can see sliding off the corner, but hasn't lost too much pace. But a big moment there for Ronnie Bassett Jr.
The good news for Bassett is we see him working the steering wheel coming up off the corner. He's got a gap back to Jason Myers and Trey Williams, who are actually battling for the 12th spot behind Bassett. So no pressure from behind. He could solely focus forward. While Puryear, who, as you said, Blake, veteran of this race and event, he knows what could be coming should that 62 be able to get there, as we watch Williams in the 3 work over Jason Myers halfway through qualifying race number 1.
And those are 2 drivers right here in both Myers and Williams. Myers in the number 17, Trey Williams in the number 3. This would be their first start in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 should they be able to catch this battle. And speaking of catching it, Ronnie Bassett Jr., a car length or 2, now setting behind the 17 of Stacy Puryear, who has caught up to the back end of Camden Gully as well. So 2 of these drivers right now are in. Bassett is the one who's made up all the ground to try and chase down Puryear, who's looking to make yet another start. And off of turn 4, contact made. Puryear does a half spin, and the caution flag is going to be displayed for the first time this afternoon.
Boy, once Bassett got there, he did not want to break momentum on corner exit, and contact was made coming off of turn 4 and from a transfer spot. From 10th, Stacy Puryear gets turned around and will drop kick to the tail end of this field with just 10 laps to go.
And Puryear, who was loose, Bassett gets into the back of him, trying to carry that momentum off the corner. As they go into 3 and 4, yeah, you can see it's starting to step sideways on Puryear, and Bassett just carries that momentum through the corner, gets into the back of Stacy Puryear, whose first start in this race was back in 1996. And, Eric, that was the year I was born. Not trying to date anybody, but...
Yeah, way to rub it in. As you said, Puryear vying for another extension to what is quite the resume, as we see Bassett, who is going to inherit that 10th spot, at least for the time being.
Some damage there on that left side door of Bassett just a little bit. May have gotten tagged at the beginning of that restart.
I've got my eye on our chief starter, Brandon Willard, because, yes, he's got the caution flag in one hand, but he's waving the black flag to the 62 of Bassett. So it is going to be a penalty levied to the driver who was tied for second in Virginia Triple Crown points with Woody Howard coming into this race. And evidently officials are deeming that 62 responsible for the caution, and he will have to fall to the rear. Now, at this point, Ronnie has not made any move to answer to that penalty.
10 laps to go. I mean, that's going to be not impossible to overcome, but if you're being put at the tail end here, you got about 7 or 8 cars that you're going to have to take about 10 laps to try and get around. And I think right now, just not ceding that space, he wants to try to contest or make some type of case as to why he doesn't agree with it. But coming around to the choose, and Bassett looks like he's keeping pace for the moment.
At the same time, the one to go and choose is being given this time, but Bassett is going to drop to the rear. So Christmas has come early for the 17 car of Jason Myers, trying to make this race for the first time in what is his 4th try. He's raced primarily at South Boston Speedway so far this season and ran that leg of the Virginia Triple Crown. Now trying to see if he can make his first start at Martinsville, while Bassett's going to have to try to pull a Hail Mary in these final 10 laps. So Carson Lofton, who started on the outside of the front row, took the lead of the race on the opening lap ahead of our pole sitter Cody Kelly, who will restart second. Sam Yarbrough, Connor Hall make up row 2 as they did to start this race, with Connor Jones and Andrew Grady running 5th and 6th at the time, but Stuart Cruz is elected the outside of row 3. 10 laps to go in qualifying race 1.
And it was a really good launch for Carson Lofton. Kelly, not as great of a launch as they go down into turn number 1. Mentioned that rubber, a lot of it got picked up under the caution. It's Yarborough, a little bit of a slide, but a huge battle going on right now for second, and a huge battle going on right now to try to get up into a transfer spot at the moment. Lofton leads them. Yarborough able to get up to second as they cross the stripe. Jason Myers, car number 17, that black and green car right now, side by side with Camden Gully. That's the battle to try to stay in for 9th.
That got Gully up off the bottom, but he's able to get back down to the inside in the green and blue 0-1. Here comes Trey Williams to the inside of Myers for that final transfer spot.
And that is tight there with Trey Williams. 10th and 11th right here. Myers has it at the stripe. How about that 57 car? Dylan Newsom now gets a shot from behind. Ronnie Bassett Jr. still not out of this thing.
He's looking, thinks better of it before going 3 wide. Newsom gets kicked up to the top, and now Johnson gets tagged off 4.
Oh, Johnson's just sliding all around right now. Sun's coming out, track's heating up. 7 laps to go for what these drivers have been preparing for. They've spent weeks, many months on this car trying to prepare it for this race. Bassett, is he going to try to stick it on the bottom 3 wide? Thinks better of it, but Newsom trying to hang out up top. Bassett in the back of the 57. He saves it. Puryear has to check up. Bassett now gets up into 13th.
And a heads-up move by Puryear, who almost pile drove into the back of Johnson as he had to catch the car. That separates this portion of the field, with now Myers still holding down 10th with a car length of breathing room over Trey Williams as Bassett...
trouble! Johnson goes around in 3 and 4. Puryear spins as well. Caution's out again.
And that is exactly what Ronnie Bassett Jr. wanted to see. It did not look like he had enough time to get back up to the battle for that 10th spot, but a heartbreaker for Johnson and company, as that will draw caution number 2 of this 25-lap qualifying race. Second time we've had the yellow fly. Second time it's been for an incident in turns 3 and 4. And unfortunately for Stacy Puryear, second time it has involved him. Chase Johnson, who was in competition for the season-long NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series Championship by virtue of a stellar season at Dominion Raceway, capturing 15 wins en route to a track championship. Unfortunately, though, this portion of his ValleyStar Credit Union 300 experience is going to come undone, and he just got loose going into the 3.
Yeah, there's a couple of cars that are looking really sideways. You got to imagine Puryear, he spins, he's heated up that right rear tire in the contact with Ronnie Bassett Jr., so he reacts to that. Luckily, nobody hits him, but both in a tough position now. They were both kind of around that transfer spot. They were close enough to maybe make a move at it. But as they sit right now, again, they'll come to the choose. Trey Williams will be the first car out in the number 3. Myers, the black and green 17, is in. But again, this could shift depending on which lane that these drivers elect to go for. And honestly, from what we've seen early on, Eric, I don't think that outside line's all that bad.
Yeah, and how about this? This move made here just a few laps before Johnson spun. This is Ronnie Bassett Jr. trying to carve his way back up through the field. A little bit of contact there. That time, Johnson was able to catch the car. Bassett unofficially scored 13th at the time of the yellow. And, Blake, to your point, he's picked the inside for this restart. You said the outside hasn't been all that bad, but if things start to bottleneck up here in these final 6 laps or so, Bassett could be looking at some clear track to get back into this race.
Well, what have we seen already a couple of times is just bad restarts. Drivers having trouble getting through the gears. You hope you're not in the lane where that happens.
So Lofton and Kelly again bringing us back down to a restart. It'll be 6 to go in this first qualifying race. Top 10 move on.
Smoother restart, but Myers and Williams both kind of didn't get a great launch. They're going to go side by side down into 1 and 2. How about Trey Williams with the run, competing in just his 6th season of racing in his life? Right now has a hold of the transfer spot as they go side by side for 2nd and for 4th behind him.
Should be noted, every pass is going to be worked 4 spots in the starting grid. So these battles here amongst the top 5 are important. May not get too physical, but it's Yarbrough and Cody Kelly side by side for 2nd, and it's Hall who takes sole possession of 4th.
Cody Kelly taking possession of that 4th spot, but how about further on back? Contact made. Trey Williams bumped out of the spot. Ronnie Bassett Jr. back up into 10th. He drives up through it, and now 4 laps to go. It's Bassett's transfer spot to lose.
And Bassett trying to get out of Dodge. He wants some more buffer, and he's working over Doug Barnes Jr. Behind him, Dylan Newsom, the first car out of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, and Bassett may not be done yet. He wants some insurance.
Like you mentioned, every spot is worth it. Bassett carrying a ton of speed. He gets to the back of the 88 of Doug Barnes Jr., who is in right now. But how about Dylan Newsom? He's got a chance here. 3 to go. Newsom looking to the outside and trying to arc down. Can he build the run off at turn 4? Bassett has to check up for Doug Barnes Jr.
No contest at the front of the pack. Carson Lofton clear to the lead, top of your picture. On the right side, the battle for the transfer spot. Doug Barnes gets another tap in 9th spot. Bassett's got the final locked in position. Newsom trying to charge, coming around to the white flag this time by.
Transfer spot on the line on the right-hand side of your screen. Left-hand side of your screen, that's Kelly trying to stay in the 2nd position, but Dylan Newsom, you think about this all year long. What would you do for a spot in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300? Bassett trying to build up a run on Doug Barnes Jr., but what does Newsom do here into 3 and 4 for the final time?
Lofton's going to win the race. Here comes the bumper tag. Bassett shoved up wide. Here comes Newsom to the bottom. They beat, they bang. Bassett hangs on at the line. How about that?
Neither one of those drivers wanted to be denied. And Ronnie Bassett Jr. put to the tail end of the field after the contact with Stacy Puryear, drives back up through the field and is able to hang on to the 10th position with a little bit of contact at the end to boot.
The dream of a Triple Crown championship survives for Ronnie Bassett Jr. He makes the race, sustaining what was an attempted shove aside on the final lap by Dylan Newsom. And hats off to Newsom. He gave him a shot. They raced it out down the front straightaway. It was the narrowest of margins coming to the flag. This is Lofton coming to the checkers. It's going to be a pole shot for the Nelson Motorsports team. Here's the final corner.
You can see right there from Newsom, wanted to get into him, and then Bassett wanted to make sure that he was covered there. But you know what? A little bit of contact made right there. but not over the line, I think, there from Dylan Newsom. There's so much work for these drivers and these teams. They spend so much money to be able to come out here and put everything on the line. And Newsom was going to have a little bit of contact. That's some hard short track racing, but he could have dumped him. It could have been a lot worse, and he elected not to do that. He wanted to race it out. Comes up short. But exciting racing there for Ronnie Bassett Jr. to hang on. And Carson Lofton, we saw all the action further back in the pack. Carson Lofton, that was just an easy Saturday drive for him.
For Lofton and the Nelson Motorsports team, they continue to get better the longer this relationship materializes. And for Carson, who made pretty much a lot of the front end of his racing career up in tour-type modifieds, finding success there for the third-generation racer, now trying to see if he could lay claim to the biggest late-model stock car racing win of his life. And he will be starting on the pole by virtue of that qualifying race win. It is Lofton and Nelson Motorsports who will now turn their attention to the 200-lap contest that will round out tonight's on-track activity. And just like that, qualifying race number 2 is going to pull out onto the Speedway, and the driver that's going to lead us down, two-time winner of this race, back for the second year in a row simply because he felt like last year didn't go as well as he thought it could. Two-time winner Lee Pulliam is going to be the driver leading us down for the start for this 25-lap contest in what is a very potent field making up this second 25-lap race.
Two incredible drivers right here that I think are the very best of what late model stock car racing has to offer. Lee Pulliam, of course, somebody who is so well accomplished in his career, continues to be involved in the sport on the ownership side, but as you can see with the fact that this is his first race in nearly a year, and he qualified second at the biggest late model stock car race of the year. What an effort for Lee Pulliam, who very rightly starts on pole for qualifying race number 2.
So it'll be Pulliam and Fryer, row 1, Michael Bumgarner, the Hickory titleist, and Landon Huffman, who came just about as close as we saw that transfer battle, came just about that close to winning this race a couple years ago. Cade Brown, Mike Looney, Daniel Silvestri, Matt Waltz through your front 4 rows.
And now remember, Matt Waltz locked in for a starting spot by virtue of winning the Hampton Heat a couple of months ago, so we'll keep an eye on that. How about Landon S. Huffman looking to get back into this race? Chase Burrow, tough luck that he had last year in this qualifying race, trying to get back up into a transfer spot.
You see the rest of your field, 16 cars strong, and the second verse is going to be the same as the first. Top 10 advance, that's it. Everybody else watching along with the rest of us. Here for race 2, it's Lee Pulliam and Jared Fryer bringing us down 25 laps, 10 more cars advance.
Man, Jared Fryer had a lot of confidence in his car to try to do exactly what Carson Lofton did. And there, a little bit of contact, brushing doors up front for the race lead as a pair of Hickory track champions there in row number 2. They battle side by side, but Lee Pulliam at the lead of Martinsville. What else is new?
Contrary to what we saw in race 1, look at Huffman ripping the top line there. He sent that car up into turn 1, got to third, and is looking for second.
Man, you can tell so many of these cars, they're struggling for grip right now. Cold tires, they're just sliding around everywhere with this moisture that came in with this concrete right now. So many cars not experiencing what they did last night at all with all the rubber laid down. They had all this practice time, and early on in the day, you can just see it is such a handful right now, even for these drivers that are up front.
While the fight for second continues, let's check in trackside with Pike.
Ronnie Bassett Jr., final driver in from P1. Ronnie, is that as hard as you've ever raced in your career just to get back into a transfer spot?
Absolutely. The car was really good. We can't get down the straightaway. So hopefully 30, 40 laps into a run when the tires wear out. Just like at the end right there, it was pretty good. You can't keep up. But the guys did an awesome job. The car's good. We'll see what we can do tonight.
His bid for Virginia Triple Crown still alive.
Thanks, Pike. And now Fryer has taken sole possession of the second spot as we got a caution. Turn 4. One car has gone around in the fourth corner. That's been the trouble spot here tonight. And that looks like the number 4 car of Kyle Dudley, who was the pole sitter for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 last year.
I was about to say, flipping a view, a difference a year can make. He was such a great story to follow along through his drive through the qualifying races last year, set the quick time, won his qualifying race. Had some trouble in the feature, wasn't quite able to see the checkered flag in that one, but Tale of two different races for him, a weekend where they've just been struggling a little bit, some contact further back in the field, and around he goes.
Dudley trying to make the show for the 7th time. As Ronnie Bassett just showed us, though, you can come from the back this early and pull it off. The driver on the other end of the spectrum in race 1, the winner, Carson Lofton, is with Jacqueline.
How about it for young Carson Lofton, 17 years old, and he's going to be leading the field to green today in the biggest late model stock race of the year. Carson, as soon as you got out of the car, you were smiling. Joey Dinowitz gave you a handshake. What's this feel like to be able to lead this field today?
It feels really good. Just got to thank all these guys. We worked really hard. We struggled all year. I've really struggled as a driver, transitioning into these cars. So just super thankful for this opportunity. We've got a fast autos by Nelson Toyota Camry all weekend long, and hopefully we can keep it up front all night.
Yeah, well, good luck to you. 200 laps ahead. He says he struggled, guys, but he's going to be leading the field. I call that a win for that number 22, starting off strong for the team.
Absolutely, Jacqueline. And Carson's story, just watching him blossom into the late model stock racer that he has become in just this year alone has been remarkable. As the field hits the one to go and choose this time. And, you know, Blake, we flash back to race 1. Lofton got that lead on the outside lane. Pulliam, though, has been committed to the bottom. He took the lead on the inside lane on that first go-around. He's going to try it again here on this restart.
Well, again, I think... I don't know if the outside lane is all that great. It's just when these cars are as sideways and as little grip as there is right now, sometimes if you catch that driver sleeping on the bottom, you're just able to carry that momentum a lot better on the top. So multi-groove Martinsville isn't quite what I had on my bingo card coming into this race, but you know, we're in for some surprises every time you come to the paperclip.
2020 Cars Tour champion Jared Fryer outside the front row. Then it's Landon Huffman and Michael Bumgarner. Cade Brown up into 5th with Mike Looney rounding out your front 3 rows as we're back underway with 22 laps to go in qualifying race 2.
Again, trying to carry that momentum, and Pulliam trying to get close. Again, you're not going to see a ton of side draft with these cars, but whatever momentum you can try to hold, Pulliam's going to try to do it, but it's going to be Jared Fryer right now who takes control of the stripe. Further on back, Chase Burrow thought about making a 3-wide move around that transfer battle, doesn't have it, but there you go again, Eric. Top side works out again. Jared Fryer to the race lead.
And it's starting to work for Michael Bumgarner there, the white number 97, outside of that battle for 3rd spot. He's got the launch off turn 4, trying to move in front of Huffman as we check in on the battle towards the bottom portion of the top 10 for that final transfer spot. Langley winner Chase Burrow in the 00 holds it. Darren Krantz Jr. in the white 77 wants it.
And again, if you're Matt Waltz, you're in a transfer spot right now, but remember, he's locked in, so if he doesn't like the lay of the land, he can back off and say, you guys have at it. I know I have a spot in this field. Huffman able to go by Michael Bumgarner, but right now, Chase Burrow, that 00 car, protecting that final spot. That's the battle for 10th right now. Darren Krantz Jr. trying to find his way in.
Just ahead of Matt Waltz on the bottom side, that black number 28, Landon S. Huffman bouncing off of the car to his outside. That's Mike Looney, who he just traded a little bit of paint with. This is Landon's second attempt to try to make this race, trying to give himself another spot of insurance.
Mike Looney, somebody that a lot of fans in this region expect him to run very well, has been a longtime competitor in this race. Trying to make his 9th consecutive start in this race, dating all the way back to 2016. Didn't run this race in 2020. But Mike Looney, somebody that very well could have won this race a year ago. If you remember, he was challenging Carson Kvapil that second half of the race pretty well. Is now Burrow, again, getting in the back of another Langley winner, Matt Waltz. He won the Hampton Heat, and now Waltz being challenged for the 9th position.
Oh, boy, and Burrow just about gave Waltz a boot getting off into turn 1. Somehow they're able to settle it down, but that break of momentum for Burrow brings in more contenders. That's Krantz behind him in the 77 and 11th, and the 15 who just about got into Krantz going into the corner, Adam Murray trying to make his first ValleyStar Credit Unit 300 as well.
Adam Murray, a long-time limited late model competitor, ran the racetrack revival at North Wilkesboro Speedway in a top 5 effort, has competed in the Southeast Limited Late Model Series as well in a number of efforts. And here he is right behind a Chad Bryant Racing number 77 who is losing touch with Chase Burrow in front of him. And Darren Krantz Jr., remember, I mean, he was a contender to win at South Boston a couple of months ago, the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200, and yet here he is kind of fading late in the going as Mike Looney, 87 car, looking to the inside of Landon S. Huffman.
It's the battle for 7th. You see the donut on the left side of Looney's car. That came from a battle between these two, and the roles were reversed. It was Landon S. Huffman on the bottom, Looney up top, and Looney's able to get the spot back as Burrow and Waltz are side by side for 9th. Here comes Krantz trying to join the party. Waltz does not want to have to think about that provisional. It's there if he needs it, but he's going to have to hold on to this spot or better if he doesn't want to use it.
I mean, looking at him trying to fight on the high side, Matt Waltz is a race car driver. He wants to try and get in the right way, but as he loses back to or falls back to the 10th position, again, he has that spot in hand if he wants it. And Darren Krantz Jr., it doesn't matter what happens, he has to finish in the top 10 to be able to make this race. So knowing that, if you're a very young driver in Darren Krantz Jr., how do you approach this in that raceforkids.com Chevrolet?
And since making the pass, Burrow has not been able to walk away from Matt Waltz just yet, although he gets a really good drive off the second corner that time there, giving Krantz a chance to size up that battle. Further up towards the front of the field, Landon Huffman and Michael Bumgarner. These two have been attached at the hip pretty much since the start of this race. It's now Bumgarner to the bottom in the 97, Huffman up top in the 57, with Cade Brown lurking in 5th spot.
And what a just incredible season it's been for Michael Bumgarner. 20 wins at Hickory Motor Speedway this year. Was able to also win the Bobby Isaac Memorial. He led 150 consecutive green flag laps. Was really competitive in the Throwback Classic that the Cars Tour ran at Hickory Motor Speedway. So it's just been one of those years where everything has been working out for him. They've been carrying a lot of speed. And again, I think showcasing well that even in a insanely competitive field like this, that some of these small teams, if they've got a good driver behind the wheel, they can get it done. And Michael Bumgarner right now, I think, impressing a lot of folks in that garage area right now, running 3rd in this qualifying race. Oh, Mike Looney, that's a big moment off of 2.
And I was just about to say, Looney lost all those spots earlier after the restart. Now he's been pretty much picking his way back forward. Had that moment off of turn number 2, but Looney's gotten himself back up to 6th, looking to crack the top 5.
And I was going to say where he got loose, that's where kind of some of those weepers were kind of lingering before we went green. It looks like it's been cleared away right now, but it could have been a moment there for Mike Looney. How about Cade Brown just in front of him? Was running very, very well for Matt Piercy Racing in this race 1 year ago. Is now Lee Pulliam, who had kind of fallen a couple car lengths back from Jared Fryer. Looking at, a little bit of contact to brush as they go into 3 and 4.
This the battle from the difference in what it would mean to start on the outside of the front row for the race later on today versus 6th spot. Lee Pulliam to the point with 5 laps to go. We'll see if Fryer could respond as he has a tighter arc coming off turn 2.
I think he didn't put up much of a fight there. Has a huge gap behind him to 3rd place Michael Bumgarner. So if you're Jared Fryer, you want that spot. But maybe if your car isn't quite handling it right now, you have plenty of room to kind of approach this, get your car to the end, and make sure to try to set up well for 200 laps. As Cade Brown, talk about Hickory track champions. Cade Brown, Landon Huffman, Michael Bumgarner, they've all 3 been running around each other this entire qualifying race.
You just got to be careful getting up off these corners because the slightest bit of contact could pitch the car sideways and spin you out of not only a top 5 spot, but out of tonight's ValleyStar Credit Union 300. A lot of respect being shown in this fight, not only for the lead, but also for the 4th position on the bottom right portion of your picture.
And a really cool story here for Landon Huffman, being able to have Sheets come on board, a great-looking race car. I mean, there's a Sheets just across the street from here, so if he has a good run or wins tonight, I think we know where they're all headed after this one.
2 to go on Lee Pulliam. Fryer about a car length off the back bumper of Lee's return to this race. The 2-time ValleyStar Credit Union 300 winner, believe it or not, failed to qualify his first 2 attempts for this race back in 2008 and 2009. But since, he has completed more than 99% of the laps that he has made the race. And he's going to try to make it once more here tonight. The battle for the transfer spot currently held by Matt Waltz in the 2. Krantz is going to have a shot. Here comes Pulliam to try to win this race. That battle for the transfer spot is going to go down to the wire.
Lee Pulliam's going to come across the stripe to win qualifying race number 2. But it's not going to be enough for Darren Krantz Jr. to mount a charge at Matt Waltz, who is going to be the final transferee through qualifying race number 2 as he finishes in the 10th position. Jared Fryer, Michael Bumgarner, Landon Huffman, Cade Brown, Mike Looney, Daniel Silvestri, Landon S. Huffman, Chase Burrow, and Matt Waltz complete your top 10 here in this heat. And Eric, I think there's a couple of drivers in qualifying race 3 and 4 taking a little sigh of relief after both Connor Hall and Matt Waltz transferred in or qualified their way in through their qualifying race. So that leaves 10 spots available in heat race 3 and 4.
Yeah, no matter what, those provisionals, if Hall or Matt Waltz needed them, were going to be spots 40th or 39th respectively. And as you said, since they both were able to race their way in, the same rules will apply for qualifying race 3 and 4. Top 10 will advance, and Matt Waltz, with that 10th and final spot, is going to see if he could parlay his Hampton Heat win into more magic. Here at Martinsville, he's locked himself in the old-fashioned way by racing his way in his qualifying race. So while Waltz and company celebrate making the field, Darren Cranch Jr., Adam Murray, Diego Mendez-Torres, Kyle Dudley, who had the spin early on, and Cole Bruce, multi-time winner at Langley Speedway this season, along with veteran James Mullins, all on the outside looking in this second qualifying race, as Lee Pulliam, with the same color design that he had on the car the last time he won here at Martinsville, putting himself on the outside of the front row for tonight's 200-lapper.
And I think in what Lee was able to show us and talking with Rob Blount, they did a great piece yesterday that Lee just appreciates this opportunity so much. You can tell that he's somebody who wears his heart on his sleeve, but just brings that passion every time he steps into the racetrack and knows that even though he's a 2-time winner of this race before, the opportunity that's in front of him, how greatly he appreciates it. And late model stock car racing is better having Lee Pulliam behind the wheel of a race car.
A tremendous story with more of it to be told here tonight as we roll out our third qualifying race, and the driver who is going to lead this field down, in fact, the front row, made up of drivers who knows what it's like to win the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. They each have a grandfather clock at home apiece. Our front row is going to be made up of Trevor Ward and Landon Pembleton, car 77 and car 0. They will be the two drivers trying to do exactly what we just saw both Carson Lofton and Lee Pulliam do, that is win their respective qualifying race, and whoever wins this one will start tonight's event in third.
And that's exactly what Trevor Ward is going to try to do, as you mentioned, alongside with Landon Pembleton. Brandon Pierce, a great qualifying effort that he had yesterday for the Carroll Speed Shop, rolls up on the inside of row 2. And how about Dylan Harville, the Ace Speedway local competitor, a great qualifying effort looking to make his second straight start in this race. There's 2 Junior Motorsports cars out here. Caden Quapple represents that number 8 car, the inside of row 3. And Ryan Millington, some new colors driving for Taylor Satterfield in the number 40. But we know he's strong at a track like this. He'll start 6th.
Parker Eatman, former winner of the Thanksgiving Classic. Good to see him back in action after a flying crash at South Boston in the last Cars Tour race a couple of weeks ago. And another former winner of this race, Jake Crum, outside of row 4. Then we've got Connell Waddell and Thomas Scott starting in the top 10 positions. As of right now, they're locked in, and they'll make up row number 5.
Thomas Bean on the inside, looking at that first spot on the outside, trying to go back in. The real deal, Riley Neal, will make up the outside of row 6. P12 is Riley Neal, again looking for his first transfer in to the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. How about Ty Majeski, one of the biggest stories that we have? He's going to actually start at the tail end of the field after some troubles that they had earlier. Trey Knipe also going to try to make the field. Dexter Knipe the third, as well as Peyton Sellers, whose time was disallowed yesterday in qualifying. How about a multi-time winner of the Virginia Triple Crown that's going to have to try to come from the back of this qualifying race to make his way into the top 10 and into the starting field tonight?
Zach Clifton, Chuck Wall also going to round out the field. Top 10 moving on. Whoever wins this race will line up inside of row number 2. And the front row is made up of drivers who knows what it takes to win at Martinsville. Behind him, Brandon Pierce, who has himself in contention for a Virginia Triple Crown title coming into this race. And Dylan Harville, one of the local short track heroes up at Ace Speedway, trying to make some noise on the biggest stage that they run on all year long. It's going to be Trevor Ward and Landon Pembleton bringing us down by the start. 25 more laps to help set the next portion of the field.
Big moment at the back as Trey Knipe wasn't able to get going to full song. And oh, trouble off of turn 2. They save it as they were 3 wide. Thomas Scott and the 12 and Jake Crum got together.
Everything settles out for the time being. A little bit of bumper tag still at that portion of the field off the corner with Peyton Sellers kind of boxed in. Trevor Ward leads lap 1. First side-by-side battle between Caden Quapple and Dylan Harville off of turn 2. While they continue to run side-by-side, we'll go down trackside to Pike.
Matt Waltz makes it in, 10th driver in heat number 2. Matt, what do you change between now and the feature to get that car to run up towards the front a little bit more?
Oh, we just got to get a little more drive off. We just fired off pretty loose there in the heat race, and I just couldn't get enough heat built up in the right front, and back's cooled down enough to get the drive off we needed and tighten the car up. So we'll make whatever adjustments we can on our innovative mechanical contractors, Waltz Engineered Sales, Davcom, Waltz Water Chevrolet, and get ready for the big race here in a little bit.
His crew is already wheeling his pit box back to the 10 to turn 4, where he's going to be pitting later on tonight. The Waltz crew ready to reset for 200 laps later tonight, Eric and Blake.
Thanks, Pike. Here's the battle for the transfer spot. This is 9th, 10th, and 11. Jake Crum in the 12 trying to get inside of Thomas Bean in the 0-1. And they're side-by-side for 10th going to 1. As just getting through them both was Thomas Scott in the 8 car.
That was a big moment there for Thomas Bean. You can remember, if you've watched the Cards Tour this year, had a tremendous effort at Anderson Motor Speedway, sitting on the pole there. And right now trying to fight back into a top 10 spot. He loses it there to Jake Crum, who takes over the 10th position. After, again, these two, I believe it was these two that got together out of turn number 2 on the opening lap. He and that number 8 of Thomas Scott right now hanging on to the 9th position.
20 to go, and Majeski and Sellers are coming. Now we'll drop down to Jacqueline Drake, who's with Lee Pulliam.
Standing by here with Lee, who's locked into the front row at his return to Martinsville in that number 1. You can see right here he's talking with his crew. Lee, I know that you're moving into crew chief area right here. You're talking to your team, giving them adjustments. You're in a great spot for the race, but what more do you need for that one, and how are these conversations right here?
Yeah, we got 10 minutes to work on the car, so don't give a lot of time, but really feel good about it, man. It feels good to be out of the seat for so long and come and lead laps at the biggest race in late model stock. So, man, I'm just so proud of everybody. Thankful for Best Repair, Folsom Fence, Carolina Drilling for allowing me to do this. And it's just been an absolute dream come true weekend. And feel like we really got something to compete for to win tonight.
You can see the emotion from Lee right here. He'll be in that front row. What rush, guys? There's none on Lee Pulliam.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And here comes reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion Ty Majeski, and 8-time track titleist at South Boston. Ty Majeski, Peyton Sellers, 11th and 12th. Reeling in now Thomas Scott, who just got passed by the 2009 winner of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Jake Crum, who's up to 9th.
So 2 of these drivers in, 2 of these drivers are out, and Majeski and Sellers working in tandem to try to get through the field, but not any longer. Sellers into the back at Ty Majeski, and again, Majeski qualified a little further in the field. They had to change an engine on this car earlier today. They weren't even able to participate in the autograph session earlier today. They had that car on jack stands, and Ty Majeski, again, hasn't run a ton of late model stock car races over the years, but does have plenty of success, winning a South Carolina 400 with Chad Bryant Racing. So he gets bumped out of 11th. Peyton Sellers now trying to stay a part of this Triple Crown, and he has to be able to catch that 8 car now with 14 laps to go to be able to do it.
Ty trying to make this race for the second time. Peyton trying to win this race for the second time. Won it back in 2022, and he's reeling in Scott, unable to shake Majeski, and they're all catching this knot of cars that sees Parker Eaton in the 71, Ryan Millington in the 40, Dylan Harville in the 33. This is all from 7th on back, and they're all starting to wad together. It's going to be a 6-car battle with transfer spots on the line.
And you're not missing anything up front, single filed out, but this is where the racing is good right now. Parker Eatman, who has tried for several laps to get by Ryan Millington. And if anything, Millington, again, he's born and bred at Ace Speedway. This is a track that you often hear comparisons to that 0.4 of a mile facility, long straightaways, heavy braking zones. And I think Millington using that experience to his advantage right now, playing tough to get around right now, as he falls back to 7th. Harville, also an Ace Speedway competitor, looking to get up into that position as well. Jake Crum has caught this battle, and Peyton Sellers and Ty Majeski now side by side, just behind them outside of a transfer spot, but really 6 or 7 cars that have a real shot at this one.
All the while, Trey Knife has brought his car down to the pit lane. He will not make this year's ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Side by side for the 11th spot. Scott still holding on to 10th on the bottom side of your frame, and we see that bit of hood damage there on Harville's car. Just as he comes down the straightaway, it's a little bit more noticeable, and you see Scott and company starting to enter this frame, with Millington still trying to defend that spot in the battle for 7th, and watching along is Jake Crum. And here comes some of the heavy hitters to challenge Scott to make the field. 8 to go when they come back around.
Yeah, damage there for Harville, who's just going to try to limp it to the end. Thomas Scott, meanwhile, could you imagine, a longtime competitor, South Boston, Dominion, and Ace Speedway over the years, has been a longtime competitor here at the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, seeking his 8th start. He's been able to manage a couple of top 5s in the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson 200 and in the Hampton Heat, and yet here he is trying to hold off the reigning Craftsman Truck Series champion and Ty Majeski. 7 to go, gets a shot from Majeski, who in turn gets a shot from Peyton Sellers.
And here we go, because they've all just about caught Scott. As in front of him, Crum has caught Millington. He's going to move him aside off the corner. How about 5 cars vying for the last 3 spots up for grabs in this qualifying race? It's Millington in the 40. He runs wide. Crum down to the bottom. Scott gets a nudge from Majeski, with Sellers watching it all.
What was Peyton Sellers talking about in that opening piece? Respect. This is where it gets tested here. Sitting in 12th, now just 6 laps to go. Thomas Scott still in control of that final transfer spot. As much as Majeski and Sellers have made a run, they can't really do much, but also Millington is struggling right in front of them. Scott, big slide within a year's worth of work. Riding on what happens right now. Gets a shot from Ty Majeski as they go down into 1 and 2. Gets another one off the corner. Side by side for the final spot. Thomas Scott trying to hang on.
In front of him, Crum is trying to get Millington. Majeski now to the inside. Sellers trying to follow through. Majeski up to 10th. Sellers now trying to get Scott to see if he can keep up with that Chad Bryant 98 car.
I mean, Sellers is running out of time. He's got to get by Thomas Scott if he can very quickly, but you can see how free that 26 car is. And this is why drivers talk about track position being so important. But right now, just not able to muster enough. Thomas Scott is hanging on, but that is keeping them away from Ty Majeski. That's about 3 or 4 car lengths that separate them now.
And Majeski has caught Millington in front of this battle. So if they start to get side by side, that could be what Scott and Sellers need for a chance. 2 laps to go. Here's Sellers now again trying to have a late arc off the corner to battle Scott, while both Majeski and Millington try to break away.
Sellers gonna make a big dive into 1 and 2. He'll have it off the corner. Thomas Scott cannot hang on any longer, but I think the damage may have been done. Sellers needs something to happen. A multi-time champion of the Triple Crown might be missing out on this one. He's got only 1 more lap to make up that much of a distance.
All the while, the 2023 ValleyStar Credit Union 300 winner is on his way to a qualifying race win. Trevor Ward is going to win race 3 ahead of Landon Pembleton and Brandon Pierce. Here's Majeski and Millington battling it out for 9th spot off the final corner. It's going to be Millington ahead of Majeski, who makes the show. And the shocker is that Peyton Sellers, 5-time Virginia Triple Crown champion and former winner of this race, is not going to make the field. He comes up 1 spot short. For Sellers, after having the time disallowed following qualifying last night, started towards the back of the field And it will not be a second grandfather clock going home to the driver who laid claim to yet another track title at South Boston. But for Trevor Ward, his hopes for his second ValleyStar Credit Union 300 not only remain alive, but are positioned well as he will start tonight's race in third.
Landon Pimbleton, Brandon Pierce, Caden Quapple, Connor Waddell, your top 5. What a run for Connor Waddell. No, we didn't have the cameras pointed at him with everything that was going around that transfer battle, but a great, great run for that young man. Parker Eatman in 6th, Dylan Harville in 7th, Jake Crum hangs on for 8th, Millington faded there late, but does enough to be a part of the show tonight in 9th, and then Ty Majeski, engine change early this morning, ends up paying off for he and Chad Bryant Racing. They finish in 10th, and then the drivers missing out. Peyton Sellers, can you imagine it? Thomas Scott, Zach Clifton, Riley Neal, Thomas Bean, Chuck Wall, and as you mentioned, Trey Knipe pulled into the pit area 13 laps early.
So unfortunate for Sellers, who will make his way now towards his end of the garage area. And after that beautiful piece where we got to hear Peyton talk about what it means to win a Virginia Triple Crown and how tough it is, the evidence is right there. The man who's done it 5 times is not going to make the final leg in 2025. And while that team will start to already decompress and reflect on what they're going to need to do to better position themselves next year, the final qualifying race for this year's iteration of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 on the racetrack now. 16 cars strong, slated to start. Jamie York was a late scratch. He will not be out there, so it will be 15 cars vying for the last 10 spots up for grabs, with Riley Gentry, one of the feel-good stories for the South Carolina native and current points leader at Anderson Motor Speedway, starting on the inside of the front row for his family-owned operation in the 09 car, alongside the young hot shoe, ARCA Menards winner this year on debut at Watkins Glen, Tristan McKee makes up row 1.
The AK Performance stable, the Sellers stable, has brought some really fast cars. Donovan Strauss proving that, starting in 3rd. Jacob Borst, the South Boston Speedway competitor, lining up in the 4th position. Ryan Matthews starting 5th. Blake Stallings, almost a champion at South Boston Speedway a year ago and a champion at Ace Speedway, starts 6th. Corey Packin, what a lap that he put down early. He went out very early in qualifying yesterday, laid down a great one. And how about Bobby McCarty? Kind of getting close to that cut line, but he starts inside the top 10 in 8th.
Blaine Harrison and Woody Howard tied for 2nd in Virginia Triple Crown points. Going to round out the locked-in cars to start this race. Cars Tour winner Mason Diaz inside of row 6 alongside Dylan Ward. We just saw Trevor Ward win his qualifying race. Rest of the field sees Chase Murphy and Jessica Can. Tate Fogelman going to round out the field for the drivers in this race as we get set to try to lock in the final 10 participants of our 40-car field.
And Riley Gentry, I think one of the great stories. We have so many coming out of qualifying of drivers who competed at a weekly track. Him at Anderson Motor Speedway down in South Carolina. Always a joy to be able to catch up with him and to see what he's been capable of this year in a couple of starts. Really impressed. North Wilkesboro Speedway a couple of months ago, ran in the top 10 there on FS1. That was really fun to watch, and just great to see what this team's been able to do in select starts throughout 2025. Brought a lot of speed to the racetrack.
For Gentry, he's trying to make this race for what would be the 2nd time in his 3rd attempt. He made the show back in 2023. On the outside, Tristan McKee, who's won in a Pro Late Model. He's won in ARCA. He's won in Trans Am TA2. Late Model stock car win. He's been knocking on the door of it over on the Cars Tour side. Maybe on a stage such as this would be the perfect setting for him to break through outside of weekly competition. McKee's going to line up on the outside of the 09 in that 2nd spot. Donovan Strauss, Jacob Borst make up row number 2. 10 more cars to finalize the field for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. The final qualifying race is underway. Gentry is going to take sole possession of the lead off turn 2, while McKee and Strauss battle it out for 2nd. A bit of contact there.
McKee gets a little bit of a shot. Was just going to mention about we've seen the outside lane work so well on these restarts, and this is really the first time that car in 2nd has really struggled to try and get up to speed, and it looks like Strauss is going to be able to get by Tristan McKee. McKee looking to close the door on Jacob Borst, is barely just able to do so as they go down into 3 and 4.
Boris, who was knocked out via a heartbreaker last year when Chase Burrow lost a motor in front of him while in a transfer spot, now running in 4th position. Fogelman to the inside of Stallings. They battle for a spot as we throw it down to Jacqueline Drake.
Standing by right here with Trevor Ward, who just won the 3rd qualifying race. Trevor, you're off to a great start, and thinking about how you won this race 2023 just a couple years ago. What are your thoughts going into it, and are you ready to get another clock?
Oh, absolutely. I'm super pumped. This Harrison workwear number 77 is on stomp. I can't thank all the guys and all the supporters. Mike Bledsoe Mechanical, Jim from Digital Repair, Pro System, BST Shocks, Reynolds Racing Chassis really got us on point this weekend. Clark's Automotive, but I'm looking forward to it. A lot of pressure off my back go after this heat races. A lot of puts you in a different mental state of mind until you make it in. So unfortunately, we're in the show. I mean, for sure we're in the show, but I'm glad that we're gonna have a good starting point this year. Was able to do it from 9th a few years back, and now it feels good to be up in some clean air.
Great to see Trevor Ward out front again, and the support he has for that family team with Harrison on board.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Under caution here after Mason Diaz, who was running 13th at the time, went for a solo spin in turns 1 and 2 with 3 laps complete. So Diaz is going to be relegated to the rear of the field right now. Again, 15 cars started this race, so Diaz will now fall back to the 15th spot with the top 10 still advancing and 22 laps to go in this race. No major damage to that car, and that will erase the advantage that Riley Gentry was able to build up almost to the tune of about 1 second when the caution flag flew. Get a look at what happened to Diaz going off into turn 1. On the far right side, that's the white car with the blue roof. Little bit of help there, it looked like, from the car just behind him. I believe that was Chase Murphy who gave him a bit of a nudge there to send him around in that first corner.
Yeah, you could kind of see a little bit of that stack up happening in front of the 41 car. Murphy gets in there, and at the last second, you could see him kind of try to venture up and miss that as he got in the corner just a little bit too deep. Tags him, and then Diaz goes around, which if you're going to have a problem, Eric, you at least want to have it early, and 22 laps to go. And it's at least enough for Diaz and company to try to get back up into the top 10 as long as their tires aren't too hurt after that spin.
As Ronnie Bassett Jr. showed us in race 1, a problem this early could be enough time to still work your way back up through the field. As we hit the 1 to go and choose this time through, it's going to be Gentry electing the inside, McKee the outside, as they did to start this race. Donovan Strauss will line up inside of row 2 with Jacob Boris to his outside. Ryan Matthews in the 51 electing the inside of row number 3. Blake Stallings is going to jump up from what was 7th at the time of the yellow to inherit the outside of the 3rd row. Tate Fogelman has decided he wanted the bottom lane as opposed to restart in 6th. It'll be Fogelman and Bobby McCarty taking you through your front 8 as we have 22 laps remaining. Gentry again on the inside in that 09 car to see if it will propel him to sole possession of the race lead as we get set to restart this race. Gentry and McKee bringing us back down to green. Good drive to the center of the corner off for Gentry. He's going to get back to the lead with McKee running in 2nd. Then it's Strauss in the 98, inside of Boris in the 25. Ryan Matthews trying to stick his nose to the inside of that 25 car to get up to 4th.
And it looks like, well, he's not going to be able to do it. Boris a great run going down into 1. He'll dive down low. He'll block. He'll protect. Just in front of Matthews, Fogelman, McCarty. How about Blake Stallings picking up a couple of spots here on this start? But this is Woody Howard. We talked about that driver coming in high up in the Triple Crown standings who goes for a big slide. He saves it. Dylan Ward gets knocked into the marbles. He saves it as well. Jessica Can looks to the bottom, 3 wide, and Howard checks up and lets that happen. He gets back, trying to get back by the 19 car.
And just like that, Mason Diaz is back up to 11th behind the car that moved Woody Howard to start that exchange a lap ago. Now Can gets turned sideways, and she's around off turn 4. Well, Woody Howard, who got pretty much shuffled towards the back of the field, now engaged in some more contact and conflict off the 4th corner. And it was at the expense of Jessica Can, who spins to draw caution number 2. The initial contact happened about a couple laps before the spin after Woody Howard got moved aside by, I believe it was the 7D of Blaine Harrison who made initial contact. Here's Howard now in the 41. This was after he got moved to the back, trying to get that late drive off the corner. And after he made the initial contact with Ken, nowhere to go.
Yeah, you could see he was trying to set up that pass and kind of take that wide arc, cut it down, get that momentum off of turn 4. Mistimes it and gets into the left rear of Jessica Can, who, again, Howard just kind of got pinballed around on that restart. As he was well inside the top 10, he gets bumped out of it, and now will have to start at the tail end of the field to try to get back up into the top 10.
And the bit of irony there is we've well documented how hard it was for Ronnie Bassett Jr. to make the field, who came into the night with an average finish in the Triple Crown of 6.5. Woody Howard with an average finish of 6.5. Darren Krantz, who had the average finish of a 7.5, did not make the race. So for Connor Hall, who locked himself in earlier, and he had that average finish of 1.5, puts him in a prime position here to maybe go into tonight's race with a bit of security in that battle as we watch Chase Murphy come off the pit lane.
Murphy's going to have to, he's going to have to hustle here to try to catch back up to the field. Actually, no, the lights are still on the pace car. So it looks like he's going to get the opportunity to join back up with the tail end of the field. A trio of Dylan Ward racing cars. Again, Dylan Ward, a longtime competitor of Bowman Gray Stadium, owns a number of cars over there that compete and are winning championships in the sportsman division at that racetrack. Bringing a couple pieces out here this afternoon to try to make the ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
1-to-go signal being given by our chief starter, Brandon Willard. The lights will be extinguished atop the pace car with Riley Gentry again picking the inside lane with Tristan McKee up top, newcomer in that second row. Inside Donovan Strauss, pretty much been in third throughout most of this race. But Ryan Matthews in the 51 is going to jump up to the outside of that second row for the multi-time winner at Dominion Raceway. Also has won several times at Larry King Law's Langley Speedway. And the topping Virginia driver looking to add his name to the list of winners in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 as that battle for 10th position is going to continue to rage on. 19 laps to go in the qualifying races for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Gentry and McKee bring us back to green. Good run off the corner by McKee. This is the first time Gentry's had a challenge.
Back of the field. Mason Diaz hard into the outside wall after the 7 got loose, clips him in the right rear, and that is going to bring an end to the run for Mason Diaz and Blaine Harrison. Harrison got up into the rough stuff off of turn 2, drifted back down the racetrack, caught Diaz in the right rear just around that cut line battle. And both of these cars look to be worse for the wear.
And as they were scored at the restart, they were in and around that 10th spot. Diaz trying to roll away if possible. It's going to happen here off of turn 2. There's Harrison, and as you said, Blake, he just lost it.
Yeah, and just barely got up a little too high, was trying to chase that car all the way back down the racetrack, and Diaz just nowhere to go. If anything, Diaz, he sees that check up in front of him. He's looking, trying to peek that nose out on the 7 of Corey Pack. And just nothing that Diaz could do there. Really unfortunate there for the Hedgecock Racing team.
And we're watching Diaz roll in front of us. Here's another look down the back straightaway. And, boy, for Diaz, absolutely nothing he could have done differently. And from our vantage point, we saw Diaz pull towards the pit lane where Blaine Harrison's team was stationed. Now Diaz backing up into the pit stall for his team to see if they could do anything with the right side of that race car. For Harrison, though, all the front end body work is just about ripped off from its original home, and you see how badly damaged that right front suspension is. For Mason Diaz and team, they're looking at the right side of their race car as he's pretty much ripped the door off of his machine. And, you know, luckily for Mason, the 7 car of Harrison kind of cushioned the blow a little bit of that impact on the outside retaining wall. And now that Hedgecock Racing team is going to see if they could do anything to get him back out and in contention, as we are under our third caution in qualifying race number 4 for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Cleanup continues on the back straightaway. Riley Gentry, the leader. Tristan McKee, second. We'll be back for the restart of the final qualifying race right after this. Cleanup concluding on the back straightaway after our third caution for the final qualifying race for the 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Riley Gentry still leads, and repair efforts continue for Mason Diaz. Blaine Harrison does not appear that he will be able to rejoin the race. Let's get an update from one of the drivers who just raced their way into the field. Down to Jacqueline Drake for more.
Well, we're taking a look behind the scenes in the garage area where it's all hands on deck, quite literally on these cars. You can see right here the car of Connor Jones and several others. The crews have been running around because here in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300, you only get 10 minutes after your qualifying race to make the adjustments that you would like to make to the car, and then that's it. So we're going to talk to Ty Majeski here in a little bit, but he's actually working on his car as well to make adjustments to get that CBR car ready and better for the 200 laps ahead.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Quite the frantic scene, and the drivers who make their way into the field as well after this qualifying race are going to be given that amount of time also to make those adjustments required to get ready for the race, as we will double up and choose this time by. And for the start and every restart since, it's been Gentry and McKee each electing the inside lane and the outside lane respectively. It's been a slow go of it here in this fourth qualifying race. Been a quick turnaround here for these three cautions. They've all come in the first 6 laps. Still 19 laps to go. Now, the good news for Mason Diaz fans, they did get that car back out there. This caution is also a big help for Woody Howard, who got muscled towards the tail end of the pack. There's Diaz. We'll have to see if that car could sustain speed or keep up with the pack as we're about to restart this race.
Well, again, the left-hand side of your car, that shows one, that paints one picture. The right-hand side, when he comes around the front stretch here, going to look a lot different.
Gentry and McKee once again bringing us down for the restart. 19 laps to go to finalize the field. Oh, and Matthews doesn't get going. Outside row 2, that jams everybody up in the top lane.
What were we saying at the beginning of this race? That you have to execute restarts. Even race winner Carson Quapple was talking about that earlier in this week, and that just stacks everybody up. It costs a lot of people in that outside row positions, and as it is getting hairy back in the field, Tristan McKee takes over the top spot. But with that stack up there on the outside line, that cut line battle has shifted with Dylan Ward now in the 7 car holding claim to that final spot.
Here's Tate Fogelman in the blue and white 8 car to the inside of Matthews, who had the hiccup on the restart. Blake Stallings trying to follow through. Everybody's still tightly packed together. Matthews now is going to give up that spot to Fogelman. He'll fall to 6th. Stallings with the Superman logo on the front of his 77, ahead of Corey Pack, Bobby McCarty, and Dylan Ward, as you mentioned, Blake, holding on to that final transfer spot to 7, but Chase Murphy is there.
And again, these are 2 team cars with Dylan Ward and the Dylan Ward Racing number 13 and Chase Murphy. So teammates battling for that final transfer spot right now is Tate Fogelman trying to pull away from Ryan Matthews. But there you see 7 and 13. This is where it gets difficult. A lot of people that work with Dylan Ward, they have so much respect for what he's willing to do. And there's a little bit of a shot back there as Murphy's trying to get on by. And oh, how about Woody Howard that still is outside of the top 10 at the moment?
Howard is lurking as these two almost come together in dramatic fashion in 1 and 2. Now it's Murphy with a big run. Heartbreak for Diaz, though. Diaz is pulled down, and you see Ward with the hand out the window. Not sure if that's displeasure with Murphy. And now Howard gets into the side of Dylan Ward off 4.
No, I think he was pointing him low. He wanted him to go on by, and I think it's because of what happened right there. Maybe he knew he was struggling. He wanted Chase Murphy to get on by, and I think he wanted to come down before Woody Howard would be able to get to that 13 car. So he was waving him on by pretty much out of turn 2 after he slid off the corner.
That's going to get Murphy up into that final transfer spot. Back up front, McKee and Gentry separated by about a car length. Gentry has a really good exit off of turn 2. Donovan Strauss running in the 3rd spot. Borst in 4th. Here's the battle for 5th between Fogelman and Matthews.
Fogelman running 15th in the Triple Crown standings, halfway home in qualifying race number 4. In each and every one of these qualifying races every year, it seems that there's one where there's a little more chaos involved with it, and this seems to be that version of it this year, as Tristan McKee continues to lead this field right now. An impressive drive for him, and Riley Gentry, again, just doing such a great job with that family team, being able to keep up with a team like Matt Piercy Racing, as there's a little bit of a nudge off at turn number 2. Matthews and Fogelman, this has been a really good battle for the last 3 or 4 laps.
Winner of this race is going to start off in 4th position, 2nd, 8th, and you get the picture. Every pass made is for 4 spots in the running order when we start this race. Thus the reason why Matthews is willing to get a little bit physical to try to get 5th away from Fogelman, who's sideways off turn 2.
It's a lot easier to know when these drivers are fighting for these spots. So this is 4 spots starting in the feature later on tonight as Fogelman. We've just seen so many drivers today, Eric, who are just struggling for just the lack of grip that is on the racetrack right now. It's really humid. It's been humid throughout the day. Of course, we had all this rubber washed off the racetrack with all the rain showers that came in and pretty much started after the qualifying ended and didn't end until early this morning. Fogelman's got his hands full as Matthews can't find a way around him or enough grip, enough drive off to get around him. Peaks down low and brings Superman into the fold as well, Blake Stallings.
Stallings starting to lurk there as well. This is the battle again for 5th, 6th, and 7th respectively. Not missing anything up front nor at the transfer spot right now. Murphy holds that edge over Woody Howard by about a second. So Murphy is hoping this race stays clean and green and that there's no bottleneck in front of him to allow Howard a chance to close in late and keep his Virginia Triple Crown hopes alive, with Fogelman maintaining 5th spot.
And at least looking at these lap times, these last few times by, does Woody Howard have enough to try and chase down Chase Murphy? He pretty much had exactly a 10th in the bank that Howard was able to chase down that number 13 car. And it's because Murphy's starting to catch up to the 7 car, Corey Pack. We mentioned his incredible qualifying lap for when he went out last night that Corey Pack was able to lay down. But right now, starting to back up to that 13 car who, again, he just wants to be able to get by and get gone, as yes, Howard chases him down another 10th of a second. It's now about 6/10 of a second that Woody Howard has to catch up to the 13 car.
And the information is going to start to be relayed to Chase Murphy that 41 car, who is very incentivized to try to make the field, is closing in on you. You may not want to take your time here with Corey Pack, even though there's only 3.5 laps to go. You see Howard starting to poke into the frame that time. The veteran's going to need a little bit of help.
And there you see those minute differences. Is Murphy going to look to the inside here? If he's going to get this pass done, he's got to get it done quickly. Pack gave him the space to try and race down there. Almost contact off at 2. This is slowing down both of these drivers. Howard is getting closer. Coming around this time to 2 to go. All he needs is to be close enough to have a shot like we saw Dylan Newsom and Ronnie Bassett Jr. in qualifying race 1. And he's getting there with 2 to go. 2 car lengths now separating them. Now 1.
Corey Pack and Chase Murphy trying to make their first ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Woody Howard, the Virginia short track legend, trying to keep his Virginia Triple Crown hopes alive. White flag in the air for Tristan McKee, the leader. The battle for the transfer spot continuing to intensify, but Howard lost some ground.
Oh, he lost a ton of ground off of turn number 4, but Murphy going to try to give chase to Corey Pack there in the 9th position off of turn number 4. Nothing to worry about up front for Tristan McKee, who will start 4th in tonight's ValleyStar Credit Union 300. And Woody Howard in the bid to make the race is going to come up just short.
Howard settles for 11th, but it's going to be a ValleyStar Credit Union 300 debut for Chase Murphy, who gets the final transfer spot. The same could be said for Corey Pack, who is in that knot. McKee the winner, Gentry 2nd, Donovan Strauss 3rd, Jacob Borst, who was in a transfer spot last year when he was swept up in a crash. Tate Fogelman, your top 5. Then it's Ryan Matthews, Blake Stallings, Bobby McCarty, and the aforementioned Pack and Murphy, your top 10, with now McKee joining the list of winners on the day for the qualifying races. Outside looking in, Woody Howard, Dylan Ward, Jessica Can, Mason Diaz, and Blaine Harrison, who were involved in one of the early cautions and crashes off of turn number 2. But for Woody Howard, who is tied for 2nd in Virginia Triple Crown standings with Ronnie Bassett Jr., who edged his way into tonight's field in qualifying race 1, Howard will not make the main event tonight.
And that's so tough for Woody Howard. We talked about the injection into the purse money for this event, this 2025 season here for the Virginia Triple Crown. Just finishing 3rd. Again, he's sitting 3rd in the Triple Crown standings right now. If he had maintained that, that's $7,500 at the end of the day, a potential $10,000 if he could have gone on to finish 2nd, or even $20,000 to win. And now he's out of it. That's why it's heartbreaking for these drivers. And for somebody who ran so well, ran in the top 10 or finished in the top 10 at South Boston, had a real shot to win the Hampton Heat, finished 4th in that race. But on the flip side, you can see the reaction from Chase Murphy just ahead, who has made the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 for the first time.
And as Jacqueline told us earlier, these teams are soon going to get in a position where they could head back to the garage area. They'll be allotted their real estate in their position as we see Woody climb from the car. They'll get their 10 minutes to work on their vehicles before things shift over to the sole focus being the 200-lap affair, which is this year's running of the ValleyStar Credit Union 300. And you see Howard walking away from the scene of his race car. And he will be watching the rest of the night's events with us after a valiant effort to try to race his way back up into contention after getting bounced around in the opening laps. For the young hot shoe Tristan McKee, who has been knocking on the door to a victory on the Cars Tour side in a late model stock. He's the youngest winner ever in a pro late model. Did so back in 2023 at the ripe age of 12. Blake, he was hunting down a potential victory in what was a big paying race at Hickory Motor Speedway towards the end of August. A late race tangle and crash took him out of contention there. Could today be the day that McKee is able to get the stars aligned on one of the biggest late model stock platforms he will ever contest?
I don't think anybody's surprised if you've watched what Tristan McKee's been able to accomplish this year and just the raw speed that he has everywhere that he goes. Especially in these big-time late-model stock car races where he didn't have a ton of experience coming into this year, had been continuing to build that up the last year or two. But just an incredible job by him to be able to put all that together. We know he has fast race cars. Matt Piercy, longtime driver who has prepared some great race cars for a lot of talented drivers over the years. And you just wonder, does all that finally click? Does everything come together? He's been in a spot to win a lot of big races recently in his late model stock car career. Can he finally finish it off here at Martinsville?
Well, the garage is starting to be a busy place once again. We'll go down to Jacqueline Drake for more.
Yeah, we're standing by right here. He's getting lots of congrats from his teammates. And Tristan, first off, I just want to say you're starting in the second row at the biggest late model stock race of the year, and you're very serious right now. What's going through your mind with you rolling off in the 4th position?
Yeah, just trying to think of the next few changes we need to make it a little bit better for the race. Obviously, we had a really good car there. Being able to get by him on the outside, I think we have a really good race pace car, and it obviously showed kind of as we went on the long run there. So I'm really happy with the car. Got to work on a couple of things, but my Matt Piercy guys brought me a really, really good car. We had some issues in practice yesterday and worked through them, and, we've gotten a lot better, and obviously we just won our heat. So thanks to all the MPR crew, Chevrolet, Josh Wise, Scott Speed, Lauren Dernier for preparing me, and Spire, Gainbridge, HenryCars.com, Jeff Dickerson for all they do for me.
Great execution today from Tristan McKee. Sending over to James Pike, who's standing by.
Chase Murphy is racing in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300 for the first time. Chase, what are your emotions now that you have made the field of 40?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty awesome right here. This has been a dream of mine for a while, and wouldn't none of it be possible without Dylan Ward and Dean Ward. Them two, they stuck with me all through the shop. I mean, we didn't even sleep at all before we came here yesterday, running on literally no sleep. So a little bit of rest last night was good. Now we just got to focus up on this 200 laps, see if we can make it from the back. I think we got a car capable of doing it. Dean Ward for crew chiefing me, Dylan for letting me run it and busting his butt just to make it happen for me. None of this would be possible without Steve DeWalt Performance for great motors, JV Blackwell and Sons Trucking, J&T Woodworks, and once again just Dylan Ward. If it wasn't for him, wouldn't none of this be possible. I mean, he builds bad, fast race cars. I mean, he's just all around the best people I want to be around. I mean, that's the good thing about this is it brings us all close together. And like me and him were talking about, it's just another family, and it's nice to know you got them friends and family that can come do all this stuff. You can get mad, angry, yell at each other, and about 5 minutes later you're back good. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now we just got to focus up on the 200 lapper.
I think that paints such a good picture of the way late model racing is here in the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. That with teams like Chase Murphy's, it very much is a family affair. You see friends and family coming in to celebrate the fact that Chase Murphy is going to be racing in the ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
Thanks, Pike and Blake. I know that we've seen a lot of the positive end of the spectrum here, and we talk about what does it mean to just make the show. And we made the equivalent analogy earlier to making a Daytona 500 or an Indy 500 or any marquee motorsports event. That interview right there and this expression and emotion from Chase Murphy, who was quite literally the last car in the field, I think that shows us everything we need to see about what this race means to this sector of the motorsports landscape.
Well, it's no exaggeration when we say that these drivers, they start looking forward to this race months in advance, preparing their race cars, being skeptical if they want to go run some weekly shows because they don't want to have to repair something that they've already been working on for several months. And just to be able to make this show, they know they're in the race, the money that comes with it to be able to start and to try and make some progress through the field. For a lot of these drivers, just being able to be a part of the show is such a big deal, and it's great to see for the Chase Murphys of the world who are they make up a huge segment of this form of late model stock car race, and be able to enjoy that and be able to thank their partners.
On the other end of the spectrum, perhaps the biggest name who's going to be on the other side of tonight's race, Peyton Sellers, is with Jacqueline.
Yeah, we're standing right here on the back of the trailer. We could see that 26 load into the trailer early, and what a heartbreaker that is. You have been a regular here for so many years. All the fans have gathered around to shake your hand and say hello. But Peyton, what happened there in that qualifying race?
Well, it hurts, no doubt about it. We had a good car. We had a little issue in inspection last night, but we did all we could with what we had with the laps. No cautions in our race and went green flags, so didn't have an opportunity to make a race of it, that's for sure. So had a good, solid car. No doubt it would have raced well tonight, but we don't get that opportunity. So, it's a bad day, but you can't let one bad day define you as a race team. We still won our championship this year at South Boston. We've got a good, solid team. We'll come back in a few weeks and race again, and we'll pick up from this and take off. The race will be good tonight, and it just won't have the 26 in it.
That's Peyton Sellers, the sportsmanship and attitude he has day in and day out. You can see it right there in that interview, guys. Peyton Sellers will not be starting in the 2025 ValleyStar Credit Union 300.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And you know what? Peyton said something there that I think is very important, Blake, and this will not define our year. And what a tremendous year and what a tremendous run it's been for Peyton, not only with his success at South Boston again this year, but also 5-time Virginia Triple Crown winner, 2022 winner of this race. This is not going to be the last chapter for Peyton in his relationship with Martinsville Speedway by any stretch.
Absolutely not. But I think it continues to speak to the level of competition that we've seen, even in qualifying yesterday, to see the margin of error in these races is so small. And I think that's why being able to drive from the back to even a 10th place run in a qualifying race now, it would have been, not to say it was ever easy, but it's become so much more difficult with the speed that all of these cars are starting to bring to the racetrack week in and week out in their weekly shows, in different touring series. It's just very, very impressive, and goes to show you the level of competition that somebody like Peyton Sellers won't be joining us tonight.
Well, while Sellers and several others now turn their attention to loading up their cars, several of the fans who have come on out here on what has turned into a beautiful afternoon and evening. Blake, this seems like the best time for us to head on down to the hot dog stand and enjoy some of those Martinsville hot dogs. And I think the fans are going to do the exact same here. One of the most memorable moments about visiting Martinsville Speedway.
I'm right there with you. Let's go.
We'll head down and step aside. An electric 4 qualifying races to set the 40-car field. Carson Lofton took top honors in race 1 after Ronnie Bassett Jr. battled his way back in. Lee Pulliam looking for his record-tying 3rd ValleyStar Credit Union 300. Wins race 2. 2023 winner Trevor Ward took top honors in race 3. And Tristan McKee race 4. We'll be back at 6:15 Eastern for the ValleyStar Credit Union 300.